Find yourself. Hello, everyone. My name is Adriana Rodriguez. Welcome. We're letting everybody into the webinar. Thank you for being here today. On behalf of Excelencia in Education, I welcome you to Elevating What Works for Latino Students, a conversation with practitioners leading successful programs. So again, welcome. We are looking forward to a robust conversation with program leaders. And so to make sure we have enough time, we're jumping right in, and I'll pass the mic over to Cynthia.
Hi, everyone. Today's session will include learning more about Excelencia and our team, but most importantly, hearing from our panels consisting of the 2023 Examples of Excelencia program leaders. Please share your questions using the Q&A feature, as we will have an opportunity to answer these questions towards the end of the webinar. And a few housekeeping items before we begin. This session is being recorded and will be available to all registrants following this call. To follow along with this conversation, please join us on social media using the hashtags Growing Examples and Latino Student Success. And again, welcome everyone. I'm Cynthia Sanchez. I'm the Senior Manager for Institutional Practices. Facilitating today's conversation is Adriana Rodriguez, who's our Chief Operating Officer and our VP for Institutional Programs here at Excelencia. And providing our welcome remarks is Excelencia's Chief Executive Officer, Deborah Santiago.
Thank you, Cynthia and Adriana. I want to also add my welcome. Thank you for joining in this discussion. A little bit of context about Examples of Excelencia. It's about 19 years that Excelencia started Examples of Excelencia, in large part because here in Washington, D.C., where we're based, we kept hearing conversations about students broadly, and we didn't have people talking about who specifically we were serving and what it takes to serve Latino students amongst all, with a measure of intentionality. And so we wanted to use an unapologetic Latino lens to say, what are we doing while we're serving all students to ensure that Latino students are not just participating, but that they are being impacted and doing well? And then how do we bring attention to that using our national platform and stage so that those that don't know what to do or wondering if you can do anything to serve our community know that there's lots of wonderful work happening across the country that's making a powerful impact, that we have evidence of effectiveness, and that the work we do and we're seeing is culturally responsive. It's got not just data, but that there's opportunities to replicate and scale the kinds of things that are working. And frankly, there's no excuse for inaction. So Examples of Excelencia is our approach as a small nonprofit to bring awareness, attention, hopefully get investment and support, and leverage the kind of work that you all do day in and day out. And I guess the last thing I'd say on this space is that for Excelencia, we work at scale in policy as well as individually with programs and institutions. We always want to work our policy efforts, make sure it's informed by good practice. So this is not independent and top down, but that it's bottom up, informed by practitioners, by students, and those that need to be more intentionally served to really change higher education to be more student-centered and to make sure that we're investing in the things that we know make a difference. So thank you for joining us. Please know that we're talking this amazing group of 4 programs and efforts amongst a large group of programs and practices we've recognized. And that we do collect this information because for us, we want to make sure it's shared broadly in our community of common cause. So we do have a growing works database, which is free and available on our website. We hope you will take a look, continue the discussion, continue the engagement, share what you're doing that's working. Let's make sure that the focus on our students amongst all is clear and that this is the place to celebrate, recognize, and advance the work that's making a difference. Thank you all for attending, and I'm going to hand it back to Adriana.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for that welcome and the introduction to Examples of Excelencia and all that it's doing. This is a great segue to the programs themselves that we have with us today, and it gives us another chance to recognize their work as our 4 Examples of Excelencia from 2023. So I'd like to introduce them all. At the associate level, we have representing the engineering program at Wright. We have Doris Espiritu, Senior Advisor to the Provost, Dean of Engineering and Computer Science, and founder of the program at Wilbur Wright College in Chicago, Illinois. Welcome, Doris. At the baccalaureate level, we have representing the Spanish Community Translation and Interpreting Program, Alicia Acedo, director of the program and faculty at the University of Texas, Arlington in Arlington, Texas. At the graduate level, representing the Graduate Equity Fellowship Program, we have Sharon Barrios, Dean of Graduate Studies and Director of the program, located at California State University, Chico in Chico, California. And then for the example at the community-based organization level, representing the College and Career Success Program, we have Arelis Palacios, Director of the College and Career Success Team at Breakthrough Central Texas, located in Austin, Texas. So welcome again to our wonderful panelists. We're so glad to have you here, and we're excited to start this conversation to share your great work with others. So let's get started. We know your programs provide multiple services to support students, but if you could highlight one thing your program is doing to increase Latino student success in higher education, what would it be? And so to kick us off, how about I'll go to Alicia, and why don't you share with us?
Thank you, Adriana. It is a pleasure to be here today and share what we have done with the Spanish Community Translation and Interpreting Program. We are a very small program, but I think if I will have to mention just one thing, will be that we provide our students with leadership and networking opportunities in the community. And I'm going to explain this a little bit further. We do this through service learning and internships. The majority of our students are language brokers, meaning that they translated and interpreted for their immigrant families when they were kids. So we recruit Hispanic heritage speakers who find in this program a great opportunity to professionalize their existing skills. We do recruitment, we offer them opportunities with the community. As I said, we offer them a series of how to become a professional translator and interpreter. And I would like to highlight that 100% of our Latino students are offered an opportunity to work with a community partner. We have more than 25 community partners, including nonprofit organizations, school districts, hospitals, clinics, etc. We also, as Latino faculty, we mentor them and we guide them professionally and personally, but also the staff in the nonprofits, in the clinics, in the school districts, they also mentor our students. So they feel they are part of the community, and also with their translations and with their interpretations, they are impacting and helping their community, the Latino community. For example, we have placed 65 students, 93% of them Latinos, in the community with the internship, providing more than 4,000 hours. Also in service learning, we had 368 Latino students who collaborated with this nonprofit organization. So I will highlight that they see that what they do matters, that it has an impact in the community, that they have a leadership position in the community, and that it is also a way to professionalize their skills and gain professional experience before graduation.
Thank you so much, Alicia. And then so following that and that what you're sharing about those elements of your program, I'd like to go to Doris and hear from you at the engineering program at Wright.
Thank you so much, Adriana. We do a lot of things here at the community college, at Wright College for Engineering Program. We do all-around support, but if I would have to highlight one thing that really is effective in supporting Latino students and all students in general, that is actually community of practice. Let me break that down a little bit. The community of practice is having people who does the same thing help each other because they have the same cause. And I would like to really amplify that the college provide a physical space and the engineering program facilitate the collaboration between the students. So especially for engineering, we really need that community. And so we foster the word familia and we really push that. And that really is the most important, that if you're gonna ask our student, what is it with the engineering program that really help you succeed? It's that combination of really having a community that they feel they belong and they succeed together. So they help each other. If there's anything, one thing, that is the thing that is the biggest contributor to the student success here at Wright College, building a community by providing a space and facilitating the collaboration between everyone.
Thank you, Doris. Thank you for sharing about the community there at Wright. So next we'll go to Aneris at Breakthrough Central Texas. How about you share what's happening there?
Yes, hi, thank you. Again, delighted for this recognition and to be in this community of practitioners here and colleagues. Thank you again. Breakthrough Central Texas is part of a larger collaborative known as Breakthrough National. Breakthrough Central Texas, we've been around for 22 years specifically within our own community here in Austin, Texas. One of the things that we have that really sets us apart from other community-based organizations is that we have a 12-year commitment to our students. So our students enter the program as 6th graders, and then they ultimately persist out of the program once they've completed their degree or post-secondary degree. So we have a 12-year relationship with the student and the family, which I feel is just really instrumental in getting to the root of the students' motivations, the roots of understanding a number of different family dynamics that can potentially impact a student study. I will say too, the one thing that is setting us apart is gap funding. So we are working closely with the universities locally that persist our students at higher rates, and specifically Pell eligible students. So 90% of the students in our program are Pell eligible. So we've also partnered with the universities that have seals of Excelencia, Texas State University, St. Edward's University, Austin Community College, because they are graduating our students faster. And we are very specifically providing gap funding to ensure that our students can pay their tuition across multiple universities so that they don't have to take out second and third jobs or additional loan burdens. So we've been really, really surgical in our approach in how we provide this gap funding model for our students enrolled at the universities that are also persisting our students at higher rates.
Great, Anelis, thank you so much for that summary there of those practices. And next we'll go to Sharon over at Chico State.
Thanks. And again, thank you for this recognition and for this opportunity to be here. It's really a wonderful experience, and I'm honored to be part of this panel. At California State University, we are providing support for our graduate students to succeed in moving quickly as possible through to their degrees and graduating with high success, and then moving on to PhD programs if that is what is in their best interest. And the way we help our students to achieve that success as graduate students, I think the one thing that I was thinking about that we do is to help our students to identify and address and overcome their own self-imposed barriers, their sense of inadequacy, unpreparedness, and an anemic recognition of their strengths and values and potential as student scholars. So we are helping them to overcome the imposter syndrome, but it's really more than that. We are providing opportunities, we hope and believe, to grow their knowledge of their own disciplines and the impact that they can have as student scholars and then as they move on into their careers. So we want to help them to see themselves as really important participants in the overall educational enterprise that we all think is very important. So through research assistantships, where they work side by side with faculty and other student researchers, we hope to help them develop their passion for their own disciplines, a deeper understanding of how critical inquiry and research is in solving the most important issues and problems in our society, and that they are up to that challenge. And it is a challenge, and to recognize that it's a challenge, but they can grow significantly through that experience. Really what we hope to do with the Grad Equity Fellowship Program at Chico State is to help our students catch fire, to help their imaginations be engaged in this critical work that we're doing.
Wow, there, catch fire. I like that, Sharon. Thank you so much. So thank you all for those responses, and really, when I'm hearing the professionalization of skill sets they already have, the building the community, the wraparound services, whether it's for a length of time or that financial piece, and then the building of community and working with students on seeing the potential that they may not sometimes see, and helping them see that path forward. So thank you all for those wonderful answers about those practices that you're doing. Lots of activity we see in the chat, people being welcome, but people just applauding the work you all are doing. So it's wonderful. As we look at another element of the piece of your story that you share with Excelencia, we talked about there's a data component, right? And at Excelencia, we say data is the language of decision makers because of the ability to share a story of impact. And you all shared that through the elements of evidence of effectiveness for your programs. So what evidence do you use to show your program is positively impacting Latino students? You guys started to tell that a little bit in your story, so I'm going to circle back around for this segment when we have Arelis kick us off on these answers about data.
Definitely. We track a number of different things, and we have a number of different data points here at Breakthrough Central Texas. Specifically within the College and Career Success team, we're serving over 1,007 students right now in our portfolio. And these are students who are enrolled in 2- and 4-year programs across multiple universities, both in Austin and throughout the state. We're looking specifically at high school direct-to-college enrollment. We're looking directly at year 1 to year 2 persistence. We're looking at whether or not our students have completed their FAFSA or their TASFA applications if they are undocumented or documented students. Also looking closely at SAP appeals, satisfactory academic progress, which is basically the thing that can ultimately hinder persistence. But really persistence is the goal. We are a college persistence portfolio. As an example, when we're tracking and looking at how students are ultimately being able to register for subsequent semesters, one example is St. Ed's University, which is a local private Catholic university here in Austin, Texas. As a result of us closely having a co-advising model with the academic advisors there, we find that 96% of our Latino students are persisting at that college because we take a very integrated approach, advising with the actual undergraduate center at that university as well. So as well as having points of contact with their academic advisor across their entire lifetime at that university, they're also meeting with us anywhere from 3 to 5 times a semester to ensure that we're looking at the entire constellation of support. So really excited that when we look and track all of these data points, we have a very clear picture of some of the barriers that could potentially present themselves. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. There's lots of elements there that I'm sure people will want to follow up on that one. So let's hear from, again, at the community college level, Doris, what are some of the elements that you were taking a look at?
So if you're looking at community college, we have to deliver the normal KPIs. We do disaggregated retention, we do completion, we do degree completion for associate, but we also actually measure the bachelor's through communication with our alumni. We also look at the time to degree completion because I think that's really is important. It doesn't mean that if you don't succeed in 2 years, you're not successful. So we look at those. But what really the program stands out for in terms of our success and how we measure it are 2 things. One, how our students feel they belong. That's the community that I was talking about. And that is expressed to alumni stories and also the success stories of the students. How we change their lives and how we change the lives of their community in general. So how do we do that? It's really hard data to track, but because of the community that we built from the very beginning, our students are actually very happy to come back to us and say, hey, this is where we are now, this is our family. And in addition to that, we have a lot of students through Legacy. They come here and say, or my sister is very successful, so I am here with you now. That is success to us, especially at the community college perspective. We have to show that to the community that we're not just tracking retention, we're not just tracking transfer rate. We are tracking up to the workforce level and leadership in the workforce. So I'm very excited to share that.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate that, Doris, like the combination of like, you have to do the KPIs for the institution, but really where the program hones in. So thank you for those distinctions. I know that'll be helpful to others. And then at our baccalaureate level, Alicia, what about for you all?
Yeah, we're looking at different numbers because we do not also serve the majority of Latino students, but also post-traditional students. Our student body is over 80% Latino, 72% first generation, and 75% of them are Pell eligible. So we look at those numbers. Obviously, as being a BA, we look at graduation rate. And over 80% of our students that are Latino are, for example, offered in a 100% student opportunities. Our BA program that started with a certificate grew up, and since in extension, we have grew almost eightfold, which is a 471% increase. The four-year graduation rate is also important for us. Our Latino students are graduating in 88% rate, which is 20% higher than the graduation rate of all continuing Latino students in our institution. And just to mention some important numbers, Texas four-year graduation institution Latino graduation rate is 47, so we're doubling the number. Also, we pay attention to transfer Latino students enrolled in our program, and they are graduating at a rate of 92% compared to 62% in our institution. We also are very proud to say that 69% of our Latino students maintain a GPA of 3% or 3.0, which is really nice. Again, the numbers of internships, we have like more than 4,000 hours provided to nonprofits and also companies. We had 22 Latino students participating in an externship because experiential learning for us is very important. And 72% of these Latino students were hired by the hospital. So that's a wonderful indicator that they're doing great. And also we have students that have said that 94% of them being Latino will always collaborate with our nonprofits through the service learning. For example, we've been collaborated with a nonprofit organization called Proyecto Inmigrante, and we have offered them more than 5,000 hours of legal translation for people who are, going through their immigration processes. We offer a close mentoring, and that allows a fluid communication with our students. So the mentoring from us, Latino faculty, and from the staff members of the nonprofits is helping our students, and that has proved to be very successful in terms of eliminating the equity gap. So those will be our numbers that we really pay attention to: retention, transfers, students' graduation rates, and degree completion.
Wonderful. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt us. The whole Zoom thing, right? So, and then I know we saw something about thank you, Alicia, for sharing that comprehensive picture of what's happening there at the University of Texas at Arlington. And then at the graduate level, and I think someone was asking about some of the graduate level work. So Sharon, why don't you share some of the evidence of effectiveness that you guys were looking at for the Graduate Equity Fellowship Program?
Yes, thanks. In the Graduate Equity Program, of course, we do the traditional tests for and application of data analysis to look at graduation rates and the other things that individuals here have already spoken to. So I'll concentrate primarily on some of the more qualitative aspects of our program. The first thing that I do want to say, though, is that when we did our typical data collection, this program's existed for 37 years, so we have some pretty good data, but spots in that data too. But what we saw over these years is the growing success of our Latino students. So not only did we close the gap in the graduation rates and time to graduation rates, so the completion of the degree, we've now exceeded that gap with our Latino students. And we're seeing in our program and even now across the university, our Latino students are succeeding in those areas of achieving their degree and achieving their degree at a faster pace than the overall population of graduate students. In the Graduate Equity Program, So in addition to looking at that success rate, we look at what our Latino students are doing beyond the program and in the rest of their careers when they're at Chico State. And what we see with those students is, first and foremost, they are taking those research opportunities that we're giving them and developing conference presentations at professional associations, publications, grants, assisting faculty and other students with their research and the success in their research. We see that our grad equity Latino students in particular serve our campus community as mentors, definitely as teaching assistants and lab assistants. And then we're also looking at how they are succeeding in some of the other areas of recognition and award that they're pursuing. And what we see with our Latina and Latino grad students in the equity program is a disproportionate number of them are getting some of the top fellowships, recognition awards from the CSU system. So some of the most competitive in the California State University system, which is 23 campuses, our graduate students are succeeding in that kind of funding, recognition, and award acquisition. So those are some of the things that we're actually, we didn't think to measure for many years. And as we've started to measure them, we see just how successful our students are serving as our top student leaders on campus and so much more.
Thank you, Sharon. And yeah, thank you for sharing the kind of longevity of the program and then the pivoting on the data collection and identifying some of those qualitative things. Very wonderful. Thank you so much. So thank you all for sharing about your evidence of effectiveness, the data, the way you're using it, and what you've been able to share with our audience. Lots of, again, positive accolades coming to you all in the chat conversations. And I know we'll get to some of the questions that are popping up in the Q&A a little bit later. But the thing I wanted to pivot to next was having a discussion about, the intentionality of your programs. So your programs were recognized for nationally by Excelencia for intentionally serving Latino students. How do you balance intentionally serving Latino students while serving all? And a lot of you have talked about some of this in your opening answers. So for this one, maybe going to go to Doris to circle back a little bit and hear about that from you.
Thank you, Adriana, for giving that to me. It is, Wright College is a Hispanic serving institution, and a few years back, we actually have the seal for Excelencia for serving Latino students. So it isn't kind of difficult to start with, but for the engineering program at Wright, we do way more and above and beyond that by actually collaborating with our Avanza program for our bilingual students. We also have collaborated with professional engineers through our Adelante program, where our students, our professional mentors are mentoring our students in education and in life. But within the program itself, we have around 60–70% is Latino in our population. So we look at not just Latino in general, but we look at disaggregating all the populations within the community, within the program, and see how we can truly serve them. That word servingness is really incorporated into our system because we know that Colombian is not the same as in terms of culture with Puerto Rican, right? So we have a conversation with our students and really truly understanding their through the cultural lens of even the diversity within the Latino community. And so that actually is very important for creating this community, creating the success of our students. So the intentionality in terms of the culture within the Latino community as well at the engineering program.
Great, thank you. And I think, Alicia, you had also alluded to some of this even when we were talking about some of the data. So how about for you all, the intentionality in serving Latino students while serving all students?
The University of Texas at Arlington is also a Hispanic serving institution and has also received the Seal of Excelencia. Ways in which we intentionally serve Latino students through the Latino lens is mentoring, as I said before. We help them graduate. We make sure that we know the data that it's indicating that they are progressing towards graduation. And we also make sure that particularly transfer students, first generation students are connected with us because, for example, I'm also first generation and we are very small programs. So we have this wonderful opportunity to really connect face-to-face with the students. Also, as I said before, our students have the connection. So we use this connection with these professions as they were language brokers when they were kids. And we just help them professionalize these skills and have a career in the field of translation and interpreting and language access. We also do a lot of recruitment in lower levels. We also do recruitment in other units on campus because, you know, we have lots of Latino students that are not maybe language majors, but they are in other professions. So say, hey, you can professionalize your skills that you already have. Obviously, offering internships and service learning is a key component to all this. And also, for us, it's very important to do recruitment because the Texas Higher Education Strategic Plan for 2015-2030 calls for 60% of adults aged 25-34 to hold a college degree. However, in this area, Dallas-Fort Worth, even knowing that Hispanics are making 40% of the population, the educational attainment among Latinos is lower than 9%. So we really focus on that and we really help them and make sure that in our program, they graduate. And this program has been a success, very successful in terms of retention and graduation rates.
Thank you so much. And we can get the conversation, continue the conversation. The lots of places we can connect afterwards. We're going to pivot a little bit to the implementation part as well. So we talked about some intentionality. We're talking about what were some keys to the success of implementing programs. And for that question, I'd like to start off with Arelis to get us going on, again, implementing your program.
Yes, thank you. At Breakthrough Central Texas, we think of ourselves as an integrated system. So we start off first and foremost with the question around who's underrepresented in higher education. But we can't ask that question without looking really specifically at the K-12 systems that support our community. So credit first and foremost goes to our students for having aspirations to attain a post-secondary degree, but also to a lot of our vertical teams across the middle school, the high school team, who develop deep, meaningful relationships with our students as early as 6th grade. We have MOUs with the local districts as well to ensure that our students are meeting academic performance indicators as well. We have programming that is culturally responsive. We have a number of bilingual financial aid information sessions that are available to students and families as early as 6th grade. So I think our village is very broad, right? We look at the student, we look at their educational goals, but we also look at the entire constellation of support that the student has as early as 6th grade. And while we are serving a broader swath of community here, we are in Central Texas. We're supporting a number of different students across East Austin and Central Austin. Intentionally serving our Latino students means that we take a whole village approach to college educational attainment. And I'm just so incredibly proud of us for being able to have this highly relational nature with our students as early as 6th grade, because it means that we have so much trust. Sometimes I call it, we have built-in equity as it relates to trust. You can say the name Breakthrough Central Texas to a number of our students and families, and there's always this feeling of warmth and openness because they know that it is an organization that's so committed to their students' development. And it's a number of different ways, again, that we do that with bilingual financial aid coaching, information sessions. We troubleshoot a number of different student issues across their entire lifetime with us, also in support with the family. So I want to really just elevate and applaud the role of the family in supporting the students' goals, because I think that's the part that Breakthrough Central Texas and Breakthrough National as a collaborative is able to harness as well.
Thank you, Arelis. And then so going to Sharon, how about for you all? What was key to the success of implementing your program there at CSU Chico?
This program's 38 years old now. And in some ways you would think that I've been at Chico State since 1999, and I was a student at Chico State when the program started in the 80s. And I was aware of the program at that time too. But I don't know what the conversations were, and in some ways exactly how this program did get started. But I know that it sprang from a deep passion and commitment to helping our students develop and explore and understand the opportunities that grad education can actually bring them, and then to provide them success in achieving that degree and then moving on to PhD programs, because the other goal of the program is to try to diversify the faculty that hold PhDs and hopefully draw them back to Chico State. So one of the advantages I think that this program has had, obviously from the beginning and all the way through, it's not a very dramatic answer, I have to say. It was a clear vision and a clear mission and a clear set of goals that have remained remarkably consistent over the years. And in fact, I've been involved with this program since 1999. And I've thought sometimes, should we do things differently? But our evidence of success obviously motivates us to keep in the direction that we're going. So the other thing that has helped us to implement this program and maintain it and sustain it over the years are a consistency in the leadership and the organizational structure. So the program has existed in the Office of Graduate Studies. We're the office that oversees graduate studies at Chico State and supports and advocates for all of our graduate students and graduate faculties and programs. And that consistency of leadership for the people who are in many ways the most passionate and invested in graduate education at our campus. So we're very lucky in that way that we have had that sustained support from the administrative office and the staff in that unit. The other element of our success that I think is absolutely fundamental is the passionate faculty who support the students in this really important research assistantship to help students, again, to overcome that imposter syndrome, but really to help students to connect to their own passion and their own, and develop their confidence in being these contributing researchers. And so the faculty, year after year after year, the same faculty continue to mentor their students, but we add new faculty from across the disciplines every year without even trying. So we don't struggle. The faculty get no extra compensation for this. It is simply their devotion and commitment. And so I think that is, it's almost sheer luck. But I think where that comes from really is the students themselves. Having been a research mentor for this program before I became the faculty coordinator, and then now as the dean overseeing the program, those were some of the most meaningful experiences that I had, and they have continued to be, is to work with those students and help them grow as student scholars. And these are remarkable students, and to see what they're achieving, what they are gaining, I think continues to motivate us year after year after year, because we've had struggles primarily with maintaining the finances for this program. And so it's a real, I think, I don't want to say labor of love, because it's not really labor, but, yeah, I know it's cliche, but I think the faculty and staff that participate feel like we get as much out of it as our students do.
Thank you, Sharon. Well, I think the passion that you all are conveying through this conversation has just been wonderful. The love of your programs, love of your students definitely come across even through Zoom. So appreciate you all sharing that. And I think, Sharon, you started talking about some of the things, and not only also about the sustainability efforts, the things that kind of are fueling your program. So when we think about the approaches that you guys have taken to sustain your programs and what elements might be replicable. Let's talk a little bit about that. So for that one, since we just kind of heard some folks, I'm going to go back to Alicia. And again, so what approaches in your program have you taken to sustain it? And what components do you think are replicable for the others listening today?
I think that it is very important that you analyze demographic data, not only when implementing a program like a BA program. We started as a certificate because I was the only faculty member. So while you're growing, it's also always important to take demographic data. For example, as you might know, more than 40 million people speak Spanish in this country. And it is estimated there are 7 million people who speak Spanish in Texas. Just in our area, Dallas-Fort Worth area, 40% of the total population is Hispanic. So there is a real need. Okay, so if you're going to implement a program, you need to elaborate and you need to look at this data. And also, there are several aspects or elements that need to be considered in order to establish or implementing your program. For example, the curriculum, the institutional social context in which you're going to create a program, and also keep analyzing throughout the years how the program is working, what aspects of the program are not working. So always being very careful to all these elements. So we need to look at society at large, but also see how the academic discipline involved is taken into consideration in the context. You need to pay attention to the resources that you have available and also see the profile of the participants involved. In our case, students, the institution, the staff, obviously, but also the community partners and nonprofits. Also, it is important for us that we have been offering community translation, which allows underprivileged people who do not speak the nominal language to communicate with the administration. And we've been also taking care of three important areas: education, healthcare, and legal and immigration. So we've been helping and developing activities that relate to these three areas in our courses and with our community partners. So it is very important, as I said also before, that we connect our students with the community, that we incorporate experiential learning, but also professionalization of our discipline before graduation. That is very important to sustain a program. And also just for us, it was very successful, the fact that we connected the students with the professional community, but also with their own community, the Latino community in needs of language services. Through internships and service learning. And I think that students have seen that this has a tremendous impact, and that was part of also of the success of this program and how it was sustained throughout the years.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, Doris, you want to round us out on this question?
Yes, I would say it takes a village to sustain this program, but I'm not even going to say that. It takes a country to sustain this program. We are in the community college. We started the program with 9 as a pilot, and now we are grown into around 600 students. How to sustain that with just a tiny program, right? So we need fundings. We're writing more fundings for this right now, but we will maintain and we engage more of our transfer institutions. The program has guaranteed transfer admissions, and we will maintain that, so that's sustaining. We will also work with our K-12 component because we're community college, we're the bridge between the 4 years. And then in addition to that, we also are working with industry to basically start accepting our students for internships. For now, this is funded, I grew the program because to the funding of the National Science Foundation, and thanks for that. But right now, the funding is ending. So I started socializing the program, and now with the Excelencia, with our administrators. So I am very privileged. I think our program is very privileged to have the support by the entire City Colleges of Chicago Chancellor, the Provost, and the President of the college. And I think it takes the entire college, it takes the entire country to really keep the program and supporting our students.
Thank you, Doris. And since you got us talking about funding, I was gonna say if we had a magic wand and tomorrow it could kind of for all of you, you would receive a new infusion of funding. How would you invest that? So Doris, if we go back to you, because you got to start talking about funding, how would you invest a new infusion of funding?
Adriana, if you asked me this question last week, my answer will be, I will expand the program to scope in the entire STEM and the entire engineering and grow the enrollment furthermore and furthermore. But after my conversation with one of our stakeholders yesterday, actually, I would change my answer. But the immediate need really right now is for me to provide that funding for internships. So I will pay my students internships. And the reason for that is this. In the country, as I mentioned, it takes a country, is that a lot of our industry right now do not hire interns for the moment from community college. And that is the reality. And our students are, they need that support and they need the training in order to be able to go to 4 years and to get a job. And that's what it's all about. If we don't provide them internships, they're not going to get internships and they're not going to get a job. So all our work is useless, kind of. So I would invest on funding my own internship and negotiate with our industry to say, try our students. They are as capable as the 4-year students, right? So I would use my money for that if I have an extra funding right now. It might change tomorrow, but that's today.
Thank you. And then I'm just going to go next to Sharon in the next box I see. And before we start going over to audience questions, Sharon, how about for you real quick?
Well, I do like to dream, so I love this question. And my list is long, actually. So unlike Dora's, yeah,
Top of the list.
at the top of the list. Okay, these are all competing, so I'll be quick about this. I would love, of course, to expand this program because it is small. So unlike Doris, providing more opportunities for more students would be wonderful. The students that we do serve, we provide almost full funding to cover all of their tuition for up to 2 years. And that has allowed them to succeed by staying on campus for their research work, limiting the jobs they have to take and also limiting their student loans. So expanding those opportunities, I think, would be critically important. I would love funding to build a space just for grad equity students and other students like our group of students who are engaging in research, to have a social hub that is just for them or students like them. We don't have that. We have to reserve space, and so there's no centralized space other than our office, which is fairly small, to meet together and engage in peer support, where we could centralize our workshops. The other thing that I think I would want, maybe I'll just concentrate on that last thing, and that is continuing support for students when they transition to their PhD programs in a way that is larger, more intentional and more sustained, and also into their professional careers. So, engaging with them as alumni and providing celebratory opportunities for us to gather after they leave
program. Thank you. And then Alicia and then Arelis, and real quick, so we can get we have lots of questions for you all. So
yes,
Arelis.
We have done all this with additional support. So with money, I'm gonna dream big. I will offer training sessions for my students to work with providers. I will go to the hospitals and I will train providers how to work with a translator and an interpreter, because our community, the Latino community, is suffering from the lack of training from providers in order to how to work with an interpreter and a translator. I will hire student translators to do more professional translations and interpretations. I will also, as I say, offer workshops to train community leaders and clinics and hospitals and nonprofits about the importance of quality translation and quality interpreting, because our community is suffering from bad translations and bad interpreters. Health outcomes are not what they should be. They're suffering in immigration. They're suffering because the quality of the Spanish translation and interpreting services is not what it should be. Also, I will offer my students grants and scholarships, internships, paid. I have non-paid internship. Students cannot do it because they work 40 hours. So I need paid internships. And also I will, oh, sorry.
That's okay, Alicia,
Okay.
sorry to cut you off.
No,
But
I have a huge list of things I could do with money.
yeah. And then we just want to make sure we hear from Adelis. So we closed Alicia off of paid internships. Adelis, something that you guys might add?
I think we agree that gap funding for all would be a wonderful dream to have, but specifically also joining forces with a lot of the movements that are happening to double Pell. Doubling Pell every year annually would dramatically reduce the debt burden for so many Latinx first-gen students. And there's quite a bit of mobility and movement and traction within the state of Texas to help this happen with our Policy and Advocacy Committee and a number of different coalitions. But whatever we can do as a community to help join these coalitions to double the Pell nationally for all students, that would be the dream.
Great, wonderful. Thank you all. We don't have time to summarize because I know Cynthia has joined us, because I think we've got lots of questions from the Q&A, and that's where we're pulling them from. I think Cynthia had mentioned for everybody to post in the Q&A. So Cynthia, we won't have time for everyone. I see a large number posted there, but can you throw out some that have come in that we can direct to the panel?
Yep, there are quite a few, and we'll try to reach out to all of you as well. But one of the questions that came in are, programs are at different stages. They're in different, cultures and institutions that may or may not be as receptive. But if any of you using any tools or guides that you're using to kind of plan your services that maybe other programs can also use as a resource for themselves on their campuses? And anyone can answer this.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I'll just
sure.
quickly jump in because I'm thinking about the way that when I was preparing to write for some Hispanic serving institution federal grants, I explored the Excelencia site to see, what amazing programs we're actually doing. And I also looked at all the abstracts and then looked up the programs for these federal grants because they are listed. And so it's, thousands of resources of some of the most exceptional programs out there. And so really, I just, did this kind of research, and it was amazingly enriching and very motivating.
Great, thank you, Adelis.
If I can add, Cynthia, yes, especially within the community-based organization space. A lot of us come from climates of scarcity where there are never enough resources to continue doing the work and basically utilizing different kinds of resources to ensure that we have staff capacity. So one thing that I think is really important to mention is that across the collaborative, a number of us have started to integrate the AmeriCorps grant as part of our capacity building to ensure that we can also develop a workforce that is strategic and in some ways stratified to support advising. So just one of the healing properties of Breakthrough is that as a result of the AmeriCorps grant, we've been able to have a number of our most high need students paired with our full-time seasoned advisors, and then creating a job corps of folks who have also been able to support our students who perhaps may not have as many confluence of factors concerning their persistence. So the utilization of the AmeriCorps grant to help build capacity within an organization is absolutely something that has been instrumental in our organization.
Great, thank you both for your responses. Another question that came in is, how do you work with your students that become unresponsive or do not engage with your services after initially showing some interest?
I probably should answer. Okay. Especially for community college, I think that is so visible. So I hate to say intrusive, but we do kind of do an intrusive, almost, we contextualize all our support, right? But we actually make phone calls, we text them, we do intrusive things in a non-intrusive way, because that's the only way, right? And we also utilize their classmates, that community that we build, they can actually help them come back to us. as well. So this is huge. It is huge to retain that, especially our retention is 96%. How to retain that is to really have those efforts. Now we're looking at capacity, but it really is making students feel that we really, truly, truly care for them by calling, by texting, by having that conversation. And that helps a lot.
Got it. Anyone else? Alicia, I see you unmuted yourself.
Same as Dory, fluid communication, like they need to know that we're here for them and that we are, understanding their situation and being also able to accommodate their needs. Being flexible is also very important, flexibility.
Great, thank you both. So flexibility and intrusive in an unintrusive way. Sounds great. We also have another question about virtual programming. Do any of you do virtual programming, and have you found any successful resources to engage students in a virtual setting?
Any takers on that one?
I've done a course on medical Spanish, and I have lots of interpreters and translators, but mainly I have nurses and pre-med students. And again, the only way to really connect and retain students online, I don't know, I don't mind, I send them every day an email. How are you doing? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Todo bien? ¿Tienes alguna pregunta? Oh, I watched this movie. Have you watched it? Whatever, just be present, communicate, fluid communication. And again, like, okay, I couldn't do this online. Okay, here is being flexible because they are going through a lot, particularly after the pandemic.
Yes, thank you, Alicia. Adelis, a few questions came in regarding breakthrough, and some of them are, how many students are in your program, and how do you accept students knowing that this is going to be a 12-year commitment? And there was also a lot of interest regarding your gap funding. How do you does your gap funding support students at all institutions? Do you select a few institutions? How do you go about doing that? And how do you obtain funding for that? So it's a lot, but if you can answer a few, that would be really helpful for the audience.
Full credit to the middle school team, who does an incredible job of recruiting students across all of our middle school sites, across Austin Independent School District, Manor Independent School District, Del Valle. We started as high schoolers. Breakthrough, again, we are known within Austin and Central Texas as a brand that is deeply committed to affecting change within the region as it relates to educational attainment. So I think it goes back to my points around including the family. So many first-gen families don't have a lot of information sometimes on how to access resources locally. So we act as a connector and a trusted conduit to resources for information, but also tangible resources. So I think really including the family really early on in the discussion around post-secondary attainment is critical, because it basically gives folks the ability to access educational information about what this process can look like across the next 12 years. We do have students who choose not to engage with us as well across a certain amount of time. But again, this is where, as a CBO, we have the beauty of actually having a forwarding clause to families. And I think that's really the defining line and the true distinction between us and the institutions of higher learning, is that we have such deep connections with so many of our students' families that that's part of how we continue to have an integrated system. The gap funding is not truly gap funding. It is, again, intended to help. We look at the students with the highest need and then the highest balances. And a number of these resources are both coming from foundations, but also philanthropic. We have a really wonderful and robust philanthropic arm that is just led so strategically by our director and chief officer, Holly Wisman, and our executive director, Michael Griffith. So again, just having a number of different sources of funding. I'm probably not the person that is the most attuned to answer that question, but recognizing that it comes from a number of different sources. And then what was that fourth one? I'm sorry, I tried to address them as a whole.
I think we might have to just cut it there, looking at the clock, Cynthia, but we will try to pair people as much as we can to get those questions answered. That leads me a little bit to the closing. Again, folks will be able to connect with our programs. We did post, I think at some point in the chat, their Growing What Works database pages that have their contact information. We hope that you all will follow up with them directly. And then Cynthia, is there some things that we want to close out with? I think we want to make sure we put up our email address as examples at excelencia.org. We also want to make sure before we close that Cynthia's flashed some dates up there. If you want to join us for 2024, call for submission and nominations opens tomorrow. And nominations close on March 15th and submissions close on April 1st. And then I think there was one more slide, Cynthia, if we can just, again, put up our email address for everybody. And there's some other resources that we will post in the chat. Anything if we go back to the slide, we did have a slide of our team here. Anything that you write to examples@excelencia.org. We have a wonderful institutional practices team available to you all. You'll get a response from one of these lovely individuals. And then lastly, want to make sure that we thank those who supported our Examples of Excelencia in 2023, our Latino Student Success Champions. We had Bank of America, the Lumina Foundation, JP Morgan and Chase and Wells Fargo. So we thank them for supporting last year's Examples of Excelencia. And so with that, thank you all so much for being here. Again, we've got our email address on the screen. I believe they've posted in the chat. This recording will be available to you all. So thank you so much. And we hope you all have a wonderful day.